Hello, friends. My name is Dave Miller.
And I'm Mal Spain, and we are your fuck buddies.
We are a dating and sex advice podcast where we take your sticky, sexy situations and turn them into sexy, sticky situations.
Simply put, we find questions either on the internet or from our lovely listeners on the topic of sex and dating, and we answer them for you.
This episode will be brought to you by the ASMR soundings of my cat purring.
Mhm.
Well, never mind. My cat just left the room. I am super powered with strong buddy burger energy.
Okay. I like
So I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
the opposite. I'm drained from just like I have this weird thing where like I'll go to bed fucking real late. Like I've been going to bed at like 5 or 6 a.m. the last 2 days, but it'll hit really early and I will just be bolt awake, like completely and utterly fully awake, but also exhausted. It's not a good combination.
Yeah,
So
no,
like
that sucks.
the other day I went to bed at 4, and at 7 a.m. my body was like, "You're ready for the day. Get the fuck out of bed, bud." And yeah, I was just like, I was so awake yet so tired. So that was kind of today. It wasn't quite as bad today, but I woke up long before it was time
Have
for
you
me to be
tried
awake.
the medicinal properties of American fast food?
No, I have not.
Well, I mean, it seems to be working out all right for me.
And that country's doing real well, so
Yeah. Although I'm pretty sure A&W is Canadian.
probably. You ready?
Yep.
This is by Courty Nope, sir. Girl I've been seeing ranked me sexually on a list. I'm incredibly conflicted at the moment. The other night I went out with a girl I've been seeing from Bumble for about a week. We'd hung out once in person, but been FaceTiming every day now, and the vibes are starting to get a little bit more serious. Night was incredibly just driving around at night, singing and laughing. I assume they meant night was incredible. Just driving around, singing and laughing. Some context
Okay,
of the
yeah.
situation. Both of us 19. I've been with 2 people sexually, but long term, she's been with 20 people. However, a lot were hookups. Kind of weird that you know all this after a week, but okay.
Yeah.
This in itself doesn't bother me because we talked. It's not what either of us are looking for. We both want a real relationship. Yesterday, things got physical, and afterwards, we were talking. She told me it was really great to my relief, so I told her I had been a bit nervous because the number of people she'd been with is much higher. Everything was fine, and then she told me I was probably 4th out of 21, 4th best. I laughed because it was obviously a joke, and when she continued, my heart began to sink. She pulls out her phone, shows me a list of guys she's been with ranked best to worst. I was quiet for a minute, then told her it was pretty gross of her to have that, and she made me feel uncomfortable. This kind of killed the mood. Then it was barely recovered since I was in the process of driving her home. Now, we talked things out and she apologized. It's also worth noting that I told her she was the best I'd ever had, which, while inadvertent, was technically a ranking as well, and may have set a precedent, which they spelt wrong and said president, which is funny. I don't know. I just feel a little gross because I care about her and can see us dating, but now I'm not sure. Need opinions, please. I'm very lost. And just for those confused, he was the 4th best, not the 4th worst.
Yes. No, I got that.
And no, he's specified because I guess you said 4 out of 21. I don't know.
Oh, I thought that was an addendum by you.
Nope, by him.
Okay. You know what? It's a good point to be like saying that she was the best is inadvertently a ranking of his own, because I wouldn't have thought about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting point to bring up.
However,
I do think it is very strange to keep a running tally of who you sleep with, regardless of like your ranking or your reasons why. To have kind of like a phone document of everyone you slept with is, I don't know. It is kind of scummy.
yeah. It's so weird. Also, back to your point, it's like, yes, it is a ranking, but like, it also kind of isn't because it's just kind of like, oh, you're the best. Like, it's not like you are number 1 out of whatever. You know what I mean? Saying someone's the best or the worst, they're kind of terms people throw around in a more of a like generalized sense than actually being like, I have ranked you officially 1 out of whatever. There's also far less thought goes into like, oh, you're the best. It's also kind of a thing you just say when you're sleeping with people. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you've got the best dick I've ever seen. Wink. It's not like, that's the 7th best dick. You know, you kind of just say these things or you don't say them. It's really strange to be this specific.
Also, the fact that like she didn't really think about it also is very strange. That like this is a running tally in her head that she's consciously aware of and constantly
updated it.
Yeah, and constantly like reshuffling them around. Like I feel like at some point, like somewhere she has like magnets of everyone's names that she like goes into her little study and rearranges all the names to. I think it's super fair to be like, hey, that's fucking weird. Because if that was me in that position, I would also be like, huh?
Yeah, I think it is weird.
But honestly, I think it only gets weird when you introduce the phone list. I
It gets so
think
much worse
I think
than.
saying like, "Oh, you were the fourth best" could very easily like I wouldn't have taken that as, "Oh, she actually has a list."
Mhm.
I also think there are a time and place to compliment people, and there's a like you could definitely say top 5 is a nicer way of saying fourth.
You could even just be like, "That was really good," and just like leave it
Yes.
at that. You know what I mean? No one needs to
Yes.
know where they are in relation to other people, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm assuming the fact that she and him have already talked about this after 1 week, and also in that week she has ranked him and whipped out a list just to show him that she is obsessed with this number. Like, to her, obviously this means a lot.
Yeah, and or like it could be that she's very self-conscious about this number and is trying to own it.
Either way, it's like she's putting far too much importance on it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, most people would just have the common sense not to instantly start comparing someone to other people they've been with, because that's just not usually a good call ever. Especially not when you're like, hey, there are three better people than you
I would love to know who brought like the number up.
initially.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet her.
Yes, I'm also going to bet. And that's why I think it's like I wonder if she kind of like wants to get that out there ASAP because it is a quote unquote high number for most people's standards, especially when it comes to women.
Yeah.
There's that, that weird sort of social expectation that women should be like one person or you're my first, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing
So
is, if
maybe
like
it's maybe she's been burned in the past about like her number.
if that was why she brought it up initially and she said like 21 people and he was like, okay, that's cool, like, problem solved. You don't need to then be like, oh, I'm not sure if he's really cool. Better show him my curated list and also show him where he is in it.
People's insecurities manifest in weird ways, man.
Yeah, but doesn't mean it's good.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean this. We've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure we even said putting the number in the box. I'm pretty sure the number is in the box.
Oh yeah, it's such a dumb fucking thing to talk about. It really doesn't matter, once you're being sexually healthy and have been checked and all that. Um, that's possibly the only reason I could see it, being significant is if you've slept with X amount of people since being checked. Um,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that, and even then, that's a you thing, not really a sharing with them thing. Like, you should sort that out in your own time.
Yeah. Exactly. So I would. I mean, I think if you've had this conversation, it also seems like you resolved the problem. You know what I mean? Like it sounds like you talked to her and she acknowledged that what she did was strange and apologized for it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if you can't get over it, then, that's one thing to move on with and be like, hey, sorry, that sort of doesn't vibe with me and maybe go your own way. But she also seems to have owned up to it.
Hmm.
And I think that it's like, as you get to know this woman, you can bring this back up and talk to her about and be like, hey, like, why did you feel the need? Like, as you become closer to her, that's something you can, because like maybe it is a thing where it's like, a dude found out about it and was really shitty to her about it.
Hmm.
And you sort of reinforcing that like it doesn't matter and this doesn't have any bearing on her worth could really help put her this like list to bed, hopefully.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think like it's kind of up to you to figure out what it is about it that's weirding you out. Was it that like you thought you were okay with her number, but then seeing yourself in this list or having three people above you in this list is what's weirding you out? Or is it just the fact that, like, let's be fair, that's a very socially clumsy interaction? You know what I mean? Is it just that she's a bit of a fucking weirdo, which yeah, I'd agree with, but is that a relationship killer? So I guess figure out yourself what is really bothering you about it, and maybe just stay alert for warning signs. Like, if she is really insecure about sex or really like obsessed with that number, like, is that going to crop up every time you guys have sex? Is it always going to be relating back to these people? Like, because if so, maybe you will just need to move on. You know what I mean? But if it was just that she kind of was awkward and like didn't read the room and just did a thing, which maybe she thought it was a compliment and it just got weird, sure, maybe you can look past it. But I think you need to figure out what it is specifically about this situation that bothers you, and I guess look for the warning signs of what this could mean about her.
Yeah, I think you're in the position now to sort of like earmark anything to do with this number and I guess specifically this list as well. And if it continues to become a recurring issue, I would say that like the next time it becomes a point of interest or a point of focus in a conversation or interaction or whatever, talk about it right then and there and be like, hey, we need to talk about this list, this number,
Mm-hmm.
and try to hash out what it is. And then I think that would definitely be able to inform a more educated opinion on whether or not you want to stay with this person.
All right, shall we?
Michelle, this comes from, I'm not going to read the username. It's just a throwaway account.
Okay.
My 25-year-old male girlfriend, 22-year-old female, claims she's a witch and curses me when we have an argument. I'm having a peculiar problem with my girlfriend of 2 years. She's a self proclaimed witch and has been way before we even started dating. I supported this. It's kind of sick having a witch girlfriend. Makes you feel protected with all her crystals and shit. But now she's using this to get back at me whenever we have an argument. Just 2 days ago, after a minor disagreement, she stormed off into the bedroom, got dressed in her cloak, sat on the floor with a circle of candles around her. She made a potion. It was literally just a bunch of herbs she got from the kitchen, and started chanting, I place a curse on this soul sucking man child. I genuinely cannot tell if she's joking or not, but I get paranoid and scared and feel like I have to watch my back because what if these curses are real? I asked her to stop doing this, but she refuses. How the fuck do I deal with this issue?
Well, firstly, was she one of these young witches who hexed the moon? Because if so, we've got a problem with her already.
Well, they were like baby witches, right? Or whatever the hell they were called.
Yeah, this could be a baby witch. You don't fucking know.
I don't know. It doesn't say baby witch.
Yeah, but like baby witch just means a new witch. I
Oh,
don't know how
I
long
thought
she's been a
baby
witch
witch
for.
was like a whole separate category of
No,
witches.
it's just like they're too young because obviously no mature witch would hex the moon because they know better.
Mm.
God dang, get with the fucking times. You need. Have you been doing your witch talk homework?
I haven't. No,
God damn it, Dane.
I'm sorry.
Our whole podcast revolves around the fact that we're up to date on witchery and TikTok. Those two things we're both very up to date on.
Witch talk.
Witch talk. Like it doesn't necessarily matter that what she's doing is a like a big bag of crap and not real. The fact that she believes it is the bad thing, right? Like if I thought, rosemary was poisonous and one day me and my girlfriend got in a fight and then she found a big clump of rosemary in her water, like it
Yeah,
wouldn't be like, oh, cute rosemary water, or like, haha, he thought he was poisoning me. It would be like, oh shit, like this person literally is trying to poison me even though he's very bad at it. You know?
yeah,
It's like presence, it's the thought that counts. Um, you know? So the fact that she wants bad things to happen to you is not cool. Also, that sounds really scary.
yeah.
Like
And
a
not to mention,
circle
it's
of
like
candles?
she's calling you a soul sucking man child.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Why? Like, if
Well,
that
she's
was,
ironically trying to do things to your soul and also playing dress up. So the irony levels here are high.
but also like if that was the way I wanted, like if I described my partner as a soul sucking like bitch, it would be pretty evident that I shouldn't be with that person. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like if those are your adjectives for the person you're supposed to care about, maybe you don't care about them.
Yeah. And if you're saying, I don't know if it's a joke, you're worried enough to go on the internet about it. I guess you know it's not a joke.
Yeah, I think he's more worried about whether the curses are real or not.
Well, I got the impression that he is somewhat like he doesn't think they are, but is still a little worried. But it seemed before that he was like, I don't know if she's joking or not.
That's a pretty big fucking setup for a joke that doesn't really have a payoff.
Yeah. Also, if my joke was like, "Hey, Dave, you're a shitty friend," and like that was just kind of it, like,
I hope bad things happen to you.
yeah, that wouldn't be a very funny joke, especially if like there was no punchline. It was just me being mean to you, like, and
Yeah.
saying not nice things, and then also like wishing you ill in a spiritual sense in from a thing I believe in. You know what I mean? Like that's
When you have an argument, can you just go into your bedroom and get on your knees and be like, Dear Jesus, I hope that you smite Elizabeth for not taking the garbage out when she said she would. Like, I mean, like, I would also like to know what you're fighting about.
turn all the
Um,
water in her body into wine and kill her from the
yeah.
inside. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus, for killing the person I'm supposed to love.
It's just a joke, Elizabeth.
I'm just kidding when I asked Jesus to murder you. God. The other thing I could maybe do is get a wizard costume
Mm-hmm.
and
A power
start
of fire.
doing some arcane, magics on her. And magics is spelled with a K.
Or maybe just, yeah, of course. Maybe fight back and be like, hey, you don't stop doing that, I'm going to hex the moon. She'll be like, no, you can't. Be
Not
like,
like
yeah,
this, not
I've,
again.
I've contacted some child witches from Witch Talk, and we're going to fucking get in the group, and we're gonna hex the sun.
Have you tried putting a circle of candles beside hers and just copying what she's doing? Almost like a I know you are, but what am I? But for
Mm-hmm.
witches.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
Getting
going
a
to be called a man child, you should 100% behave like a man child.
No, well, now we did get that one question where the guy went all out on being anime, and we told him not to. But now we're giving what I said was the advice we would have given in this situation, which is to go into it too hard. So, Dane, which one is it?
Well, you see, when you haven't done it, I'm going to tell you to do it. When you have
Hmm.
done, I'm going to say, "Hey, man, that's a
Wow, you
bad
went too
idea.
far.
Where did you get that idea from? What are you
You know
doing?"
what? Have you tried getting a bucket of water and melting her?
Ooh, that's true.
Maybe do that and just be like, "Oh, sorry, I wanted to melt you to death, like the witches in the movies." And when she gets upset, she's like, "It was a joke." But every time she does this, just soak her with a bucket of water.
Have you tried just while she's doing her things, sneak in and extinguishing the candles?
Hmm.
I mean, like, I feel like we're now giving you reasons on like how to accidentally, truly summon a demon.
Yeah, but also witches pray to certain patrons, right? Have you tried getting a really accurate costume of this patron? And when she's trying to curse you, putting it on and walking mysteriously into the room, maybe with some dry ice, creating a little fog behind you?
Ooh.
Because then you could just be like, hey, Elizabeth, stop calling on me. Your boyfriend's actually quite rad. And then just like,
Yeah, man. We play together on Warzone all the time.
yo, Dave's actually pretty sick, dude, man.
His quick building skills in Fortnite are top notch.
Yeah, I think you just gotta do that.
I don't know if we've given this person real advice. What you need to do is you need to sit
We
down with your
did.
girlfriend and be like, "Hey, let's have a real conversation and don't run away every time we have a disagreement and put on a cloak because that's a fucking like you want to talk about childish?
Hmm.
That is a real fucking childish thing to do. It's no different than like when you have a fight with your parent as a kid and be like, "I'm running away," and you run upstairs and start, creating a little homeless bindle.
Yeah, you need to basically either leave because again, not a great way to solve problems in a relationship, or yeah, as Dane said, just be like, hey, when we fight, we need to actually talk. You can't storm off and play dress up. And if she's like, fuck you, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to actually communicate with you or try to solve these problems. I'm just going to wish harm against you and say bad things about you. Then you need to leave that relationship because
Yeah.
they're not respecting you. Let me just see if there's a different version of this question because I feel like it got shorter. This is by Lightweight Thick. My boyfriend, male 25, and I, female 28, got into an argument which led him to ripping and throwing the wrapped gifts under the tree. Christmas is ruined. I know it's just after Christmas, but we can still do a Christmassy question because we didn't answer any last week.
Yes.
And what's more Christmassy than ripping up and throwing away the gifts?
Uh huh.
It's just over my 1 year anniversary with my boyfriend, and we got into a huge fight tonight because a girl followed my business Instagram, which is public, and I asked him who it was. I don't know her. He said he went to high school with her. His friend dated her, and that's it. They don't even follow each other. But how would she find me? We live states away. It has to be through his page. So when I pressed on it, he flips out. Weird, right? I'll say, no big deal. I'll just message her and ask how she found me. He messages her first, making me seem a damn fool. He then rages out, ripping up the wrapped presents under the tree and opening the gifts he brought for me, ruining Christmas. He then goes on to call her on Instagram to explain to her that there is nothing further. He remembered her handle. From 6 years ago? I don't think so. Something is off, other than Christmas.
Man, that's like almost like a booked blurb. Um,
That could be the plot of our next erotica.
this is so fucked on both sides of things. Like,
Right?
like it's almost like they were trying to one up each other on overreactions. And this man won. Obviously, he did it. I mean, she did also then declare Christmas was over. So
I would love to, because, like, let's be fair. Neither side looks good here, right?
no,
But she's the one telling the story. So I'm going to assume she's trying to present her in a better light than what really went down, even if it's 5% better. Or in this case, I imagine maybe 100% better.
Yeah, because if this is the thing that you think is gonna get people on your side, which
Yeah.
like I went on a deep dive on Reddit today and realized that like this podcast needs to exist more than I ever thought it did. But it's when I can't imagine living in a world where you monitor, like, how would you find out that this woman, like, you have a business? The whole point of being on Instagram is for people to find it.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to
But,
sort of be like, wait a minute, how did this man from the Ukraine find my business profile? It's like, do
but
you not use hashtag? Do you
Dane,
not like want people to? I don't. States
this
apart, I know.
person lives states away. It
No,
has to be through his page.
like I don't. You must use hashtags to get discovery on your content. That is the whole purpose of having a business Instagram.
Also, like, if
Is
you're a friend of a friend, like, suggestions come up. People are suggested who I know. It's like, oh, one mutual friend, Dane Miller. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, I don't need to. It's just insanity that, like, I imagine.
also like I don't. What did you think was happening? It's like, okay, so she, even if she was looking at his Instagram page, saw your business
Mhm.
and was like, "Oh, this is cool." Like, where's the crime
I
that's
assume
been
she
committed?
thought, like, he was cheating on her with this girl, which is like such a bizarre move to be like, oh, I'm fucking her boyfriend. Now I'm gonna go follow her business. I'm just gonna rub it
How?
in like in a stealthy way, which wouldn't work because not most people in the world would assume, wait, someone followed me? They must be fucking my partner.
Yeah. Also, it's like, how bad is your business doing that you are that zeroed in on the individual people that are following you?
Well, I was gonna make a joke
Like,
about how, like, imagine if everybody who followed the podcast, we were like, "How'd you find us?" But we also have asked many people how they found us, but that's literally just curiosity because we've never like advertised.
yeah, and
So
also like it's fun to like figure out, like, if she was like, "Oh, it's neat that someone across the state found out about me and I'm interested in how the discovery works."
mhm.
But no, that's not the point what she's making. And then like I don't understand his reaction to just
Well,
be like all you have to be is like, I don't know, maybe it was on a suggested friends thing.
I'm assuming that she freaked out at him. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that she was like, "Oh, who's this person?" He was like, "Oh no," because he says whatever, and then she's like, "So when I pressed, he flips out." It's like, yeah, but you're pressing. Why did you not believe him when he said it? And then you're gonna message her and ask how she found him, but then when he messages her, she gets upset. It's like, weren't you just gonna do that anyway? Making me
Yeah.
seem a damn fool. It's like, surely it's less weird that the one person that kind of knows her messages. Even
Yeah.
this whole thing, I think the advice here
I
is that both of you need to remove yourself from the dating pool. Become
And
spend
from the internet.
Yeah, just go live in the mountain by yourself somewhere, and then no one will be able to find you.
Yeah, I can, man, it would be exhausting if like I post a bunch of pictures usually, back when burlesque shows existed.
Mhm,
I would always tag Amanda in the photos as her like burlesque persona,
mhm,
and I'm sure that there are people on that like I went to high school with, or like people that I know are following her specifically because I've posted photos
mhm.
of her show and stuff like that, and like they wanted to support her or whatever, or she's just a babe and wanted to look at pictures of her.
Yeah, maybe they're just straight
I
creeping.
I cannot imagine how exhausting it would be is if Amanda, every time someone followed her, she then looked at the profile and went, "Wait a minute, you know Dane? How did she find me?" Like, it just, that sounds like a terrible existence, and I don't know what to like say other than like just walk away from this, because you don't, obviously you don't trust each other,
Yeah.
and if the trust is that fucking paper thin,
Hmm.
that you guys both have a meltdown
Yeah.
over a mutual friend liking your business.
Yeah, like this
If
is poison. This is like mental poison. Like putting myself in this position, it hurts my soul. Like it hurts my head. Everything about this is fucking agony, and I hate it. And you both need to stop. Like,
I
break up, take some time to become better people, and fucking chill.
No, I don't like. I'm not a social media wizard or anything, but like anytime I'm on Reddit and people are like, I noticed that my boyfriend liked this photo, blah 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 blah. It's like, how are you guys keeping track of that?
Yeah,
Like, I couldn't even tell you what photo. Like, unless I'm mutual friends with it, and Amanda has commented on a photo that I've also. It's like, I don't know what the fuck she's doing on social media, and like, I trust her completely, so I don't care what she's doing on
yeah.
social media. So it's like, and like, if that's not the base of your relationship, like, if you aren't like completely okay with the fact that your partner has an independent social media presence, if that gives you anxiety, or if that thing, like, if that's put you teetering on the edge of insecurity, then there's a lot of work you need to do on your own side of
Hmm.
things.
Yeah, I just don't understand. But this thing is terrible, and neither of you should be dating. I'm sorry.
Yeah, specifically not each other.
God, no.
Okay, here's something that kind of ties into it. This comes from Reddit user Bored and Scrolling. So my 22-year-old male girlfriend, 22-year-old female, saw a randomly generated tooltip on my iPhone screen with all the widgets, and now thinks I'm cheating on her.
A tool?
Tooltip?
Like a drill bit?
No, like when you hover over something and it will like give you a hint. That's a tooltip.
What?
You've never heard of a tooltip before? Like if you go and hover over like the save icon on like Word or something, if you
Okay,
leave it
yeah.
there, it'll say like save.
Okay.
So I guess the iPhone, like, I'll read the question, it'll make sense.
Yeah.
An effort to hide cheating, something I've never done and never will do. From her, which doesn't even make sense because she has my passcode and rifles through my phone and messages all the time.
So the very fact that she rifles through your phones and messages all the time is pretty indicative that if it isn't this tooltip, it'll be something else. Say
Right?
someone following her business that will set her off. And my last girlfriend was exactly like that. She was convinced, just so convinced that I was cheating on her, like to the point where she would get upset when I went to work because she would like worry that I guess I was lying about work, even though like she could just come down the road if she was, at visit, which I would ask her to do. I'd be like, hey, visit me. Like I'm fucking in the restaurant right now. We're dead. I would love to hang out. And she wouldn't. Or like I'd be with a mutual friend of ours who's a guy who she's known for longer than me, and she'd be like, oh, really? And it just became a thing where like everything was an issue. You know what I mean? There was no sanity behind it. It would almost be like the less of an issue there was, the more she seemed that there had to be one because, like, it's like if she couldn't find evidence, that was more suspicious.
Hmm.
It was fucking insane. And literally, like, by the end of the relationship, it had just been like a giant stretch of hell, which I should have ended a lot sooner than I did. But it's always, easier looking back than when you're in it, right?
Of course.
And every time I see or hear questions like this now, I like feel that pain. I'm like, ugh. So you need to probably just leave. But if you don't want to just leave, you need to have a talk about trust. And you need to have a talk
Hmm.
about respect because if she doesn't trust you, that's not respecting you. And if she doesn't trust you, you guys shouldn't date flat out. Um, you know, a tool like you, I'm sure you could look up the tooltip and show that it does come up. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's probably an easy thing to do, but also like I don't know. It just seems like a bad situation. So you need to be able to talk to her and be like, hey, look, if you don't trust me, we can't have a relationship because I can't be walking on eggshells because that's what it devolves into. It's like, shit, I know I'm not doing anything wrong, but what if it looks like I'm doing something wrong? So I guess I shouldn't like text my friend who just texted me, or you end up like texting and like tilting the phone towards them just so they can see it, just so you don't get in trouble. And that's not a good way to live. So you need to be on the same page, which is I trust you and I know you're not going to do anything, or you need to break up and let her get over her insecurities by herself before she finds someone else to date.
This is the thing. It's like, and look, we've talked about it before. And I really want to hammer home this. It's like, if you start dating someone or start seeing someone and you don't trust them, then you shouldn't date them.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason to enter a relationship with someone you do not trust.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It would be like, would you lend $1,000 to a dude on the street who's like, hey, can I borrow $1,000? You'd be like, no, that's crazy. I don't
Mm-hmm.
trust you.
Yep.
Why would you then be like, hey, do you want to like live together? or, spend X amount of time together.
Mhm.
I know you don't trust. It's the same sort of investment. You're still investing something of value to you, which is your time and your emotions and
Mhm.
so if you don't trust them enough to do those things, don't do those things.
Yeah.
Stop doing it. It
You
makes no
need
sense to me. I can't imagine a world in which I would look at someone and be like, "Oh man, this person's shady as hell. You know what I should do? Commit exclusively to them." Why? Why would you
exactly.
do that?
And the thing is, it's one of these things where it's just insecurity mostly, or it's projection where they're actually cheating on you. And neither one of those two things is good. If it's insecurity, you need to sort your own self out before you start taking that out on somebody else in a relationship. Because now it's on you to prove that you weren't doing this thing, which is really hard to do, I guess. Like obviously, because you're on Reddit trying to solve it, you're hoping that the weight of a bunch of random people on the internet will stop your girlfriend from being angry at you. And let me tell you, that fucking sucks. That's a real grim reality, man. To anybody on the paranoid side of things, you have two choices, and it's get the fuck over it or get the fuck out of the relationship. There is no in between. You know what I mean? And it's like if you trust someone and they turn out to have been not worthy of your trust, fuck it. It doesn't matter. That doesn't reflect badly on you because you don't have a third option, right? You either trust them or you're out. So
Yeah.
if you trust them and it turns out like fuck it, okay, but you didn't really have any other choice other than getting out of that relationship. You can't like not trust someone for fear that you'll be wrong because it doesn't matter. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Get out of there, find a new relationship. If you're right, then you can actually have a good relationship.
That's the thing. Is like half trusting someone is like there's like you said, it's just a binary because like even if you're like, well, I never really trusted him. It's like yeah, but you were still with him.
Yeah, and you
So
just
it's
were
like
miserable.
so the option of like trusting them, half trusting them are all the same side because the other option is not being with them. So
But
you're
like
either with them or you're not.
half trusting them is still being with them, but being miserable while you do it and making
Yeah.
them miserable, and arguably probably making them more likely to cheat if you're on their fucking ass all the time, right?
And
Which again,
look,
not saying that it's ever warranted. You know what I mean? Like if you're cheating on someone, you can't be like, "Well, they thought I would, so I did." It's like you're still shitty, whatever.
mhm,
But you're not doing your relationship any favors by being miserable, is what I'm saying, and
yeah.
treating them badly and making them miserable.
And it's very easy. Like, look, I get it. Being cheated on sucks. So if it's happened to you in the past, it's very hard to sort of like not bring that with you to
Mhm.
your next relationship. But here's the thing, uh, that onus is on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's your responsibility to leave that baggage behind, or at least acknowledge it and
Move
deal
like
with it
work with it.
during. And it's like you might have to get therapy if
Mhm.
it's so bad that you've realized. Like, look back at your relationships and see how many times you have felt like someone was cheating on you, and whether they did or didn't, you need to like look back and be like, okay, I need to figure out why this is happening and why I'm continuing to bring it with me. And the best way to do that is with therapy
Mhm.
because they will help you sort out the feelings of something that I struggled with for the longest time was inadequacy.
Mhm.
So it's like that is, I think, one of the most common reasons why people think their partner is going to cheat on them
Mhm.
is because you feel like you're not enough for them and they will need to supplement what you're lacking,
Mhm.
whatever your perceived notion of that is. um so I think therapy is a very, very good thing to suggest to your girlfriend if you want to stay with her. But like, this amount of invasion of privacy and mistrust, I think you really just kind of got to be like, you have things you have to sort out, and I'm not going to be the punching bag that you work through it on.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Everything you said, but it is on you to fix this. I think is probably the most important thing that you're saying. Like on the person who's the paranoid, upset,
Yes.
non-trusting one. You know what I mean? It's not for someone else to prove their fucking worth to you. If you don't trust them, don't date them. If you can't trust people, again, maybe it's for a valid reason. Maybe you're just insecure. Maybe you just watch too many, reality TV shows. I don't know. Either way, if you're ready to date, date. If you're not ready to date, don't fucking bring that to someone else's life and make their life hell.
Yep.
It's pretty fucked up. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of similar to something else. Today I fucked up by killing the best relationship of my life because she complimented me. It was in the early. This is by Gentry Adams. In my early 20s, seeing this girl for a few months, our sexual chemistry on point, enjoyed each other's company immensely, but timing was off as we had plans of relocation that were set in motion before we met, so we stayed as friends with benefits. So we were one night lying in bed, post coitus bliss, after what was probably the best sex we ever had, breathing still heavy, and she seemed more coquettish than her usual self, snuggling her body close to me in a tight embrace. She softly told me I'm the only man for her, and she wanted our relationship to be exclusive. Assuming my charm and sexual prowess brought on this turn of events, I was beaming with confidence, ego stroked by my apparent ascendancy to near sex god status. What I imagined being one of my effortlessly cool and devilishly masculine moments, I replied, "To what do I owe this honor?" She proceeds to regale details of her weekend escapade, girls' night out with sorority sisters, where the night ended with her drunk out of her face hooking up with this French Algerian guy. She described the shock and horror when his penis inevitably made its debut. Apparently, it was 12 inches long and thicker than a Coke can. Said she was frightened by it and looked like a torture instrument that would tear her apart. Apparently, the mood soured and he left her place awkwardly. Now, I pack a standard 6-incher with some room for expansion depending on my level of arousal. Never had any complaints by previous partners, which by then was a significant number, but never any reason for me to second guess my sexual abilities. I did have an acute awareness of being a grower, not a shower. Buying into the porn skewered reality the bigger is better. Whatever latent insecurities I had was magnified and put out on display. My breaking point came as these words came from her lips. I kid you not, he was probably twice as big as yours. Carved deep into my consciousness with animated violence, overwhelmed me with feelings of inadequacy, clouded my ability to control my most basic faculties. Said something about how much she anticipated my visit and how she thinks she's falling for me, blah, blah, blah. Ended her confession by teasingly going down on my flaccid cock, telling me this is all I will ever need. I don't think I have ever felt so small in my life. Got out of bed, got dressed in silence, and just left the room without saying a word. This, of course, left her in a state of confusion. I never called her again, blocked her on all social media accounts, and spent the next few days at home in crippling depression, wallowing in self pity, rejection, and inadequacy. Thinking back now, a far more secure man in my 30s, I often second guess my reaction. Was I being an insecure drama queen? There I was, the most amazing sex of my life, gorgeous girl I liked pouring her heart out, praising the superiority of my average sized dick while professing her love to me, yet the only image in her head is her staring with wide eyes at the sheer size of his monster dong. Once the image got stuck in my head, ego blinded by the green eyed monster, there was no turning back. That's it.
I'm so confused. What's the question?
Uh, did I fuck up?
I
Was
mean,
I being an insecure drama queen?
I'd like yes and no. I think it's very strange. I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, it was obviously meant as a compliment. Like, she was obviously trying to say that, like, this was perfect. This is what she wanted. I don't know why she thought that story was the one to tell.
You see, that's the thing. It's almost like the other question we had, which is like, oh, you're fourth best, which out of 21, pretty good, whatever. But you're still really being like, hey, there are three people better than you. You know what I mean? Whereas this is like, oh, your your small dick is this is all I need. You know what I mean? Like, he was twice as big as you. This is all I need. It's like, yeah, he's like, you could just be like, I love your dick. I miss your dick. You know what I mean? Like, I just like this dick so much that I want to keep fucking this dick. You
Or
don't
even
need
just say it's
to.
perfect. Just say this is the
Exactly.
perfect dick.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to then be like, hey, let me go on at length about this Algerian guy's massive cock. Because it's this weird, it's almost like negging. You know what I mean? It's like putting you down, but like it's still technically a compliment.
Yeah, and it's like I get it. Like, we're fucking weird about our dicks. Like,
Mhm.
there's no surprise to that. There's no secret to that. And the fact that like people still like the eagerness that women tend to have about comparing dicks, regardless of like what the intent is. Like, I've definitely had, like, I've been in this situation where where women have been like, oh, the last guy I was with was so big I couldn't even fuck. And
Mhm.
it's like, well, neat. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, but we still had great sex and we had sex multiple times. So obviously it wasn't a problem.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But like, it's still kind of like a slap in the face. Whereas like, it would be similar to like, I don't know, so like being like, oh, the last girl I fucked, she was so tight I could barely get in.
Yeah, or
Cause
even
it's
just
like,
being like, oh man, I was with this girl once and her tits were like so big. They were like, we could barely fit them in a t shirt and they were like, great. But your boobs, you're just like little handfuls. That's all I need. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure if that was the question, it would be a lot more like, oh, we get you. You know what I mean? Or I feel like a lot of the audience would maybe get it. Or women. I don't know. I feel like for women, maybe this isn't as easily understandable of a situation. But like, I do think if you were with a guy and he was like, oh man, I was with this girl and she was just like so toned and her ass was so, so big it like I couldn't buy her trousers. I didn't know how she'd get in them. But your little butt is just fine. But it sounds like a put down. Now, what I'm wondering is, because obviously there's some insecurity here about size, which whatever, we've all had it or have it or will have
Yes.
it. Literally every guy, um, I'm wondering if there's context we're missing. Because for me, like, if he was bringing up kind of his insecurity and like was talking about people who were bigger, and as a result, she was like, oh, I was once with this guy that was bigger and I way prefer this, that would be
But
a
he
different
wasn't though.
story. I know, but if he was, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, if he was like, "Oh, I wish I had a bigger dick," and she was like, "Well, actually, I've been with a dude who had a huge dick and I hated it."
Yeah.
Like, okay, great, yeah, that's a valid time to sort of bring it up. And I remember there was a point. I don't remember when it was, but I definitely I was there was a woman I was sleeping with on the regular, and I mentioned. I didn't want to be compared to other dudes or something. Maybe it was, I think I might have been going to a waste with someone. And I was
Mhm.
like, I don't really want to be like, the visual comparisons are very obvious when people's dicks are out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like when I can visually see that someone's dick is significantly larger than mine, it's like that might have an effect on me. And I was expressing that concern before going, being like, I don't know how, because I think it was like my first time going as well. So I was like, I don't know how this is going to roll out for me.
Yeah, which
Um,
is fair, and also like good communication because you're like letting them know what may or may not be a problem, so that in the
yeah,
moment later on, you're not going to be like, "Well, let's have a whole chat about it." You can just be like, "Hey, that thing's happening."
yeah. But then I remember like someone just being like, I've been with X size penis, I've been with smaller penis. It's like that's just kind of like the nature of being, I guess, a heterosexual woman or a woman who sleeps with people with penises.
Mhm.
Um, and it was reassuring to sort of be like, the one thing that really helped me get over like sort of size anxiety is the idea that if someone wants to continue to have sex with you, then don't, like, the size doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to get that, like, it's so easy to say now
Mhm.
and so hard to sort of get over it when it's a concern. But like, if you find a sexual partner who wants to have recurring sexual encounters with you, then something is working.
They're presumably not just slogging through it out of
Yeah.
duty or sadness.
There's also this, like, the idea, and again, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before, that like bigger is better, and it's like that's not the case.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure we've done the same thing. I urge you to go to like big dick problems on Reddit of dudes who have these, giant Algerian dicks who are like, I can't sleep with, some of the women I meet
Yeah.
because one, I don't fit, or two, they don't want to. You know what I mean? It's like there's a problem with everyone's insecurity with their dick. It is not mutually exclusive to people who think they're too small.
Mhm. So I do think with regards to this, like one thing also not necessarily related to the question, but they do say I may have missed out on the best relationship of my life due to insecurities. They were friends with benefits for a few months. Um, you know what I mean? Like that's not like I feel like he's putting a lot of weight on this. You know what I mean? Because also if it was that good, I think it's rose tinted goggles to a certain degree, and I also imagine that you're still in the like the honeymoon phase at that point, especially when you're not doing anything but fucking. So it's like I think that needs to be taken into account before you start having these melancholy kind of like look back sessions. That's just one thing I wanted to clarify because like you weren't really in the relationship, because even if you spent a
Yeah,
bunch of time together, it's like you have no pressure because it's friends with benefits, and it's like
of course, yeah. But like, there is also benefits to like using your maturity and your experience and your hindsight to look back and be like, oh, hey, I might have fucked up something good because of these reasons. And it seems like you've like sort of laundry list what you did incorrectly. And it seems like you've sort of gotten past those things. And like, that is the important part of reflection. If you could look back at something and be like, oh, that was a really good relationship, and these insecurities kind of tanked it. Moving forward, I'm not going to let that happen again. Or moving forward, I'm going to be aware of those insecurities so that if I'm in another relationship that I'm enjoying, I
Mhm.
won't self-sabotage myself. I think
Mhm.
there's, benefit to that. And it sounds like this is kind of what he's doing. But I think it is also important to, like, don't look at it being like, "Oh, I fucked it up." No, you made a mistake. We all do it, usually on a much larger scale than this.
Mhm.
So learn from it. And it
Also,
sounds like you
like,
have.
she isn't without fault here either, because it's a really weird and bizarre compliment, inverted commas, like to use with someone, like comparing
Yeah.
lovers in bed, especially after something like this. It's something to be done very, very carefully, if at all. I think
Yeah.
that's been pretty clear during today's episode.
The thing
Uh,
is it's so strange. Like, I know why people do it. People think in the moment they think that what they're saying is, the highest compliment, to be like,
mhm,
I've had this and I didn't like it. I've had you and I really like this.
mhm,
But to use hyperbole, or to use, language that makes the other person seem better, it
mhm,
sounds like you're being like, I've had AAA, prime rib, or,
mhm.
like, I've had the best steak and I really, really enjoy this hamburger.
Yeah, when in reality you're trying to say the hamburger is steak. Like you're the steak. But to do that, they're saying so many good things to almost make you
Yeah.
seem good, but it goes the opposite because they're spending all this time being like, look at how great this guy was. I could settle for you.
Yeah.
I just people need to be careful when they make these things, and it's like, were you wrong to do it or not? I guess not, right? Because you felt that way. So if you stayed and you were still upset, it probably wouldn't have gone well. But yeah, learn from it and move on, and hopefully you're more secure now, and hopefully she realizes when to when to do the comparisons and not.
Also, if she's single and you guys are, like, nearby, I know they said they were moving, but, like, I don't
Mhm.
know, there's no harm in reaching out again.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys had a great time, like, it doesn't I mean, like, it does sound like you just kind of fucking dipped. I don't think, like, I also did a thing when I was sort of like kind of relearning everything on my own. I tried to reach out to people who I thought I had wronged, or, like, who did shitty things to, or, what I mean, I tried to reach out to as many people as I could and be like, "Hey, so when I did this, one, I'm sorry, and two, here's the reason why I did it, and I want you to know that, like, I hope if I caused you any distress." I think there's no harm in reaching out and being like, "Hey, so sorry for dipping on you like that. I was insecure." If that, like, it might bring you some closure, if you think it's warranted, if you think it's of any benefit to either one of you, maybe reach out to her and give her a chat.
Yeah. No harm. All right. I think that's probably it for us.
You got some Tinders for us?
I do.
So at the end of every episode, Niall, we usually get these sent in to us, from various listeners. Usually Agent Valiant Heart. He is our Tinder deep diver. But we get dating profiles and we comb them for red flags.
We find a lot. Let's be
In
fair.
an effort, we do it for comedy, but we also do it in hopes that you can tailor your online dating profile to be a little bit more successful and a little bit less crazy.
Yeah, some of the ones we find are wild. Hello. I hold a Hong Kong passport. I mainly live in Singapore or China and Hong Kong. I love traveling, and I hope you can chat in a civilized way. Looking for an interesting mind? Stay away from the male donkey who is keen to mate. Chat is to broaden your horizons and enrich knowledge. I don't want to know hooligans. My English is not good. I use the translation input method to input text. If the grammar is wrong, please understand. Thank you. Hope the topic is interesting.
Oh, that's cute. I do like the idea that there is a singular male donkey who is prowling Tinder for sex.
That's the best part because, like, you can tell, like, there's some awkward phrasing and just simplistic stuff, and it's like, oh, they're translating. Stay away from the male donkey who's keen to mate. Like, is that a mistranslation or is it a warning?
Is there some sort of Chinese sex donkey that is on the loose?
Right? Like, I'm kind of concerned. I just love how, like, it's all quite nice, and then you get hit with that in the middle, and then it just goes on again like it never happened.
Yeah.
Um, I'm giving it a
I
10. It's one of my favorite.
I have no problem. I'm giving it a 7. Yeah, it's cute.
This is Aria. Crown symbol, princess. Show me the world. Bet you can't guess where I'm from, tongue face. Probably the most talkative, timid person you'll know. My type? Still not sure. Gifts, present emoji, heart emoji. Kitty kisses, cat emoji. Whoever said money can't solve all your problems must have not had enough money to solve them. My uncle said finding a husband is like finding a business partner for life. Not quite ready to share a business just yet. Ladies, we can be friends. Fellows 5'11 and under, we can be too. Laws of attraction.
Okay. There's a lot happening there that I'm not a big fan of.
I must say it was almost a red flag for me, but when they call themselves a princess, I obviously have to like that's my favorite thing to see.
Yeah, I love when women call themselves princesses because
Mhm.
nothing bad ever comes out of that.
No, they're really down to earth and like kind and considerate, and
Definitely not
just like
entitled.
no, not at all, not at all.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. If they're punk rock princesses, I know
That's
we're being
different.
facetious. Punk rock princesses, however, I'm all about.
Yes, but this ain't no punk rock princess.
No, no, she's not. Big things. I don't like. I'm so torn on the thing of being like the height restrictions because one, I think they're stupid, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a shorter dude.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like you know what? That would give me enough to be like, okay, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah, in one sense, a lot of the red flags we flag are good because they kind of tell you you don't want to date this person, right?
Yeah,
Or you do, you know what I mean? Or like, let's say you are like 5'5" or something, and you go on this date. Like, it's saving you time, I guess, because I doubt this princess is going to be chill when you show up, and you're not under her arbitrary, or you're not, at her arbitrary height level.
yeah,
Um, but at the same time, it's also a shitty thing, so I don't want to condone it because, like, you know, there's a million different comparisons you could make, like being like, oh, people above this weight don't apply, or people with this
yeah.
boob size, or whatever, and they're all fucked up. You know what I mean? And it's like, yes, in that case, you would also presumably turn people off and have them not date you, but does it mean that's good to have? No, I think anyone who has these height things is a bit shitty. Uh,
I think the like polite way to do it would probably be like put your height in it, and I think most people would understand. Like
mhm.
if you're 5'5", chances are the girl who's 6'2"
Yeah. But also, a
probably
lot of
isn't.
like 5'5" guys I know wouldn't want to date a 6'2" girl anyway. So it's like two birds, one stone there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Most talkative, timid person you'll know. That sounds like a terrible combination.
just like yeah, just nervously chattering. That's the idea that I get is like nervous chatter,
Yeah, just
not saying anything,
like a
but saying
ghost,
things to fill the vol or
like
to
you're being
fill the
haunted.
silence.
This is like a one from me.
Yeah, it's getting a 3.
All right. She's a certified wellness coach.
Also, I just want to point in the last one also had a reference to being business partners, which
I
is
know.
weird.
It's like, is Tinder now just like LinkedIn?
Yeah, I don't know.
Health coach specializing in the reversal of chronic health issues such as autoimmune disease, diabetes, heart disease, and others. Passionate about helping others, practicer of Zen, Buddhism, Taoism, raw, plant based, wild foods. I assume it's whole foods. Lives in the moment. That's all we have. Nature lover, adventurous, bit of a rebel. Shh. I'll know what I'm looking when it finds me.
I mean, I don't really hate anything in there. Like,
Can you reverse diabetes and heart disease?
I mean, yeah, there's like one of the big things that like diet has actually sort of like cured cancer and shit too. So there's a ton of like medical studies happening right now about the impact of the food you eat and the ability to like there are people who have gotten over diabetes by like significant dietary changes.
We'll see.
So it's like I understand what she's saying. Like, cool, great. I don't have anything. You know, I think there's a very specific kind of person that would thrive in a relationship like that. The guy who ate 2 buddy burgers for lunch and that's all I've eaten today, probably not going to get along with this woman.
I can give it a 3 because it's a very boring profile. It almost sounds more like a business profile than like a dating one.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 because like there's nothing really happening.
So now we have Amanda.
Wait, what? I knew it. I'm going to go rifle through her phone after this.
And this is just a snippet. The key to my heart. Adorn me with cursed artifacts, then die mysteriously, leaving me to be the most feared widow in the village.
I like that.
I think we found what's his name's girlfriend.
I think you found my girlfriend.
It's fair. Have you adorned her with cursed artifacts?
I mean, she sounds spooky enough. I'd be interested.
I know you would be. I'm giving it.
Clearly, I already have a thing for Amanda's, so
I'm giving it an 8.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
It was pretty funny. I don't like
No,
that they asked me to die.
yeah. But, everyone's got their quirks. Nobody's perfect.
And lastly, this is Nayla. Standing tall at 5'2". I want to do adult things with you. Whispers, taxes. Panting softly, pay the mortgage. Moans, make sure we turned off all the lights. Our utility bill was fucking 300 this month.
That's incredible.
Yeah, 10 for me.
Yeah, it's 10. Good job.
Good job.
I was going to say it was going to be good when I heard her name. That name gave me powerful good
Yeah,
vibe
because
energy.
it's almost Nile.
Yeah, definitely. That's a 0 for me. I'd never
Yeah.
be able to say
Because she
anything
can never
for me
be better than me. You're right.
except
Thank you,
for that
everybody.
one Algerian man who was.
Oh, no.
Thank you very much for listening, friends.
Look, Dane,
That has been our show.
Dane, I've had a good podcast host. Like, I've had, just velvet voiced, does his research, always here on time. You know what I mean? Just has some advertising friends who got us straight to the #1 podcast list of all time, made us a bunch of money. You know what? You're all I need.
Thanks.
You're the only host I need.
But I don't want that.
I need a
I'm happy
raging
with
hog.
You had a giant Algerian cock.
Man, he was just such a good person. But people who are not great people like you are good too, is what I'm saying.
It was like someone took those cans of Cokes that you stacked up in the cafeteria after you're done drinking it and just put it in between someone's legs.
I give it a fleshy sheath. And working cum shoots.
This is our show, and you've listened to it, and we'd like to thank you for doing so. If you would like to send us a message or hit us up with a question that we will answer for you on the show, you can hit us up on various means of communication. You can find us on Facebook at FCK Buddies Podcast. You can find us at FCK_Buddies on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. I believe the tag is now FCK Buddies Podcast because we don't want to get shadow banned by Instagram. Or you can email us at fbuddiespodcast@gmail.com, or you can visit us online at fbuddiespodcast.com.
Or plentyofbeef.ca.
Or plentyofbeef.ca, which is going to expire soon.
No!
I'm probably going to renew it, as long as it's still like 99 cents or whatever I bought it for.
It was 99 cents. Thank you to Josh Eel and the Harvest Cities for their song The Paper Stars. This is kind of bad sex writing, kind of advice. And I feel like we're an advice show, so this is from Ask Man, and I figured, it says become a better man, and honestly, I think we could take this advice, and it is one of their top 10 ways to flirt with a woman sexually. And I found this on the Men Writing Women subreddit, but it was initially posted in Are the Straights Okay? Want to know a secret about female sexuality that 99% of men don't know? Do you?
I guess I'm going to have to.
Dane, we shouldn't even put this on the podcast. It's too valuable. Only 1% of men know this. Many women feel compelled to vacuum their house when they're ovulating. Some experts believe it has something to do with wanting to clean the nest before laying her egg. So when a woman tells you she's vacuuming, say, vacuuming? Are you ovulating or something? She'll be stunned that you know this and wonder what else you know about female sexuality. Of course, if she doesn't know what you mean, fill her in. Women love it when you teach them something new, especially about themselves.
Does this guy know that ovulation is not anything to do with sexuality?
Dane, do you want to become a better man or not?
I know a fair amount of women. I don't want to brag.
Ooh.
I highly doubt half of them vacuum.
Yeah.
we're millennials. We don't fucking vacuum shit.
No one owns anything. We just look sadly at our dirt piles and wish they were homes or, appropriate wages.
This is upsetting on so many levels. And the worst thing is that people think this works.
Oh
my name is Dane Miller.
Someone got paid to do that, and we're not getting paid to do this. My name is Niall Spain.
And we've been your fuck buddies.